Carlos de Arguelles was a Filipino architect who was known for being a leading proponent of the international style of architecture in the Philippines in the 1960s. The international style is characterized by an emphasis on volume over mass, the use of lightweight, mass-produced industrial materials, rejection of ornament and color, repetitive modular forms, and the use of flat surfaces, typically alternating the areas of glass. He was an awardee of Gold Medal of Merit by Philippine Institute of Architects, thanks to his role as chief architect of Film Life Homes in Quezon City, the first gated community in the country. He also Film's Life headquarters in Ermita and the Manila Hilton in 1968. He was an awardee also of Centennial Honors for the Arts, an award given by Cultural Center of the Philippines to those outstanding Filipino who have contributed in the building nation through arts and culture.
Leandro Locsin was a Filipino architect, artist, and an interior designer who was known for his use of concrete, floating volume, and simplistic design in his various projects. Locsin has been proclaimed National Artist of the Philippines for Architecture by the late President Corazon Aquino in 1990. Because of his major architectural designs, and he believed that Philippine architecture is the product of two great streams to produce harmony. Locsin has produced 75 residences and 88 buildings, including 11 churches and chapels, 23 public buildings, 48 commercial buildings, 6 major hotels, and an airport terminal building. Some of them are also international, one of which is the Istana Nurul Iman, the Palace of the Sultan of Brunei, which has a floor area of 2.2 million square feet. The PICC, where most events nowadays happen in. Lastly, the Church of Monastery of the Configuration, which was said to be his last project.
Juan Arellano. Juan M. Arellano was a Filipino architect, best known for designing Manila's Metropolitan Theater in 1935. The Legislative Building, 1926, is the now houses of the National Museum of the Philippines. The Manila Central Post Office Building in 1926. The Central Student Church today, known as the Central United Methodist Church.
According to Philippines History in Architecture, architect George Ramos is graduate of the University of Santo Tomas. He is the one of architects that made significant Marcos edifices during the late 70s until early 80s. He started to get big commission in the late 70s when the modernist movement is the imbued with neomolecular design and symbolism. In fact, several of his work are imbued with contextual symbols and design. This is manifested in the Maranao Orchids in the Quiapo Golden Mosque and Ifugao Fair in the Baguio Convention Center in the Philippine Hispanic Bahay Bato in Fort Elocandia. George Ramos is also known as the designer of several government hospitals and likewise introduced innovations to hospital design. He migrated to the USA in 1984 and recently came back to build a new building. His design in collaborate with the firm of Japanese architect Kenzo Tange Award.
Pablo Severo Antonio is a national artist for architecture who pioneered modern Philippine architecture. His basic design is grounded on simplicity and no clutter. The lines are clean and smooth, and where there are curves, these are made integral to the structure. Antonio's major works include Ideal Theater in Avenida Rizal Avenue, which is one of his major works that made him prominent in architecture. Next is FEU Campus, which is considered as the largest ensemble of surviving Art Deco architecture in Manila. Antonio's other
Francisco Babe Monyosa was a Filipino architect considered as one of the most influential Filipino architects of the 20th century. For having pioneered the art of Filipino vernacular architecture, his contributions to the development of Philippine architecture led to his recognition as a national artist of the Philippines for architecture in 2018. Here are some of his famous works.
Hello everyone, I'm Mars Pamplana and I will be going to report about Carlos Santoviola. So he was born in April 8, 1912 and died in July 31, 1994. So he studied in Ateneo de Manila to his high school education in 1930. Further pursuing his dream to become a professional, he was one of the very first graduates of the College of Architecture of the University of Santo Tomas in the year 1935. During this time, the professor, they were outstanding architects and engineers of the period, such as Tomas Arguelles, Tomas Mapua, and etc. Upon graduating, he worked in the office of Juan Nakpil as a draftsman, eventually rising to associate architect from 1946 to 1950. Here's some of his work.